Not quite 1/4, and never just half, but the entirety of one primate, whole. It is the part of a story, an idea that means more to you than me. Hello and welcome to Full Gorilla Life. We are Jeremy Keene,
Larry Medina,
and Corey Hewlings.
Each week, we will break down an important life concept or talk with an inspiring person so that you can live your full gorilla life.
All right, we'd like to welcome you back to the podcast. Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Pete, the owner of Pareidolia Brewing Company, which is located in Sebastian. Welcome aboard, Pete.
Thank you.
And
cheers.
And thank you for this tasty beverage of zip code. It's delicious.
Like, listen, Larry's
I'm already
slurring 4 sips in.
Hey,
I swear he can hold his liquor better than I guess.
it's an IPA, ladies and gentlemen, and no guarantees that I'm gonna stop drinking. Anyways,
Wait, did we start yet? I'm just kidding.
so before we get into all of that, Pete's story, etc., we'd like to kick it off with the Gorilla Gauntlet.
All right, Pete, you married or single?
Married.
What was your first paying job?
Newspaper route.
Okay. How old were you?
About 11.
Here in the south or north?
It was actually down in Jupiter, Florida.
In Jupiter. Okay, I was gonna say because I was wondering was it like horrible winters?
No, it was pretty gravy actually. I bought an old grandma's tricycle and threw baskets in there, so I didn't have to balance. I could just ride around and throw papers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, was that your foresight or was it?
Oh yeah, I knew that would be easier.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What city do you live in?
We live in Sebastian.
Now, were you making beer back there? Is that why you needed the tricycle?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
But I have heard people tell me that I talked about opening a brewery when I was in my teens.
Okay.
I don't recall that, but they tell me I did.
All right.
It's a great night.
Sorry. Go ahead.
iPhone or Android?
I have an iPhone.
Have you always been iPhone?
No, it just depends on what breaks and what's cheaper at the time.
Okay.
Oh,
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I can very much appreciate that.
I'm not super.
We're well aware.
I'm not super techie.
Okay.
If it'll get my email and I can use it as a phone and a camera, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really the way I should be.
That's really the way we all should be.
If it got to YouTube, I don't even really need the email part. YouTube, and I can use it as a phone. That's really.
And when you're good to go. Yeah.
Favorite genre of music. Now I've been drinking.
Yeah, there you go.
Favorite genre of music? Wow, that's a huge expanse. If I had to pin it down right now, I'd say Americana.
Like who?
Yes.
Devil Makes Three, the Woods Brothers, a lot of bands that come play at our brewery.
Okay.
Americana.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of bluegrass roots.
I can appreciate that.
I like that. Yeah. Reservation or just walk in?
Just walk right in.
All right.
I like it.
Favorite type of food?
Mexican.
I like it even better.
Every day, all day, I could eat Mexican.
I could as
Now,
well. My family wouldn't, but I could definitely do that every day of the week.
Do you have a favorite type of like dish?
Anything Mexican. Having lived in, we can get into it later, but I lived in San Diego for a long time.
Yeah.
We'd go down to Baja, and I just would eat anything. I mean, we'd eat in places that had dirt floors. And my friends are like,
Those are the
okay
best.
eating here? I'm like, it'll
Yes.
change your life,
Yes.
man.
So we just become best friends, right? I feel like, I feel like he's just.
Yeah, I'm with you.
What type of vehicle do you drive?
I drive a Toaster, a 2008 Honda Element.
Okay. My sister loves those Elements.
I think
I
it's
almost-
one of the best vehicles ever made.
I almost bought
honestly.
one.
Did
My
you
uncle
really?
had
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
at one time. You can just you can hose it out in there, can't you?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why I almost bought one. Shay was like, "You're not buying this."
But you could literally
Yeah, you can
just
hose it out.
hose it out.
Yeah.
It's all
inside.
rubberized inside, and I took the back seats out. It's like a little truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beer, whiskey, or wine?
That's a pretty straightforward question
I
there.
think so.
Whatever's in front of me. No. I prefer beer. Yes.
Okay.
Although that peanut butter whiskey that's out right now is pretty,
the
pretty darn good.
We have some
Screwball.
here.
Yeah.
screwball, yeah.
We actually have
It's
some.
weird. I'm the one that don't drink, but I know the
How do
name
you
of
know
it.
about that? You're not drinking and you know about
He's
that.
the
Well-
one that is around us when we are, so he.
So
Yeah,
so we
okay.
went on a trip to Savannah and we all bought a bunch of liquor for no reason. And so
I remember the
Well,
reason.
I
They
kind
were
of
hammered.
Well, no, but I walked into, I forget what liquor store it was, and they were giving it
Publix.
a sample. It was the Publix, I think. And I was like, yeah, and I'm a big peanut butter fan. And I tried it, and I was like, yeah. And I kind of held off because you weren't sure if you wanted that much of peanut butter for the $30.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But then we were going to Savannah, we're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, that on rocks sitting around a fire, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is
yeah,
good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It was good stuff for sure. For sure.
Sitting around anything, I guess.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. So, all right. So, yeah, if we can go ahead and get into it a little bit, right? So, you're the owner of Pareidolia,
I am co-owner with my wife, Lynn.
Okay.
So, yeah.
but
She
you
and
weren't
I-
always that,
We weren't always what?
the owner.
Of owner of a
So-
brewery.
so-
Yeah.
So, what got you into owning a brewery?
Well, we started home brewing back in San Diego, my wife and I, back in 1993. If you want to go that far back,
Sure.
a neighbor came over, a neighbor friend of ours named Mark came over. He was a chemist, and he basically said, "Pete, you got to try this beer." I said, "Why? What's so special about this beer?"
Now, did you drink a lot of beer back then? And
I was 23
okay. What was your beer choice there?
at the time. Well, before I discovered craft beer, I would drink MGD, Miller Genuine Draft,
Okay.
or whatever was cheapest in a half barrel.
Right on.
Because I think back then we could get a half barrel of Meisterbrau for $35.
I've never heard Meisterbrau.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from. We didn't ask.
Somebody was carrying it over to the border.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? I know it was available for $35, and we had a lot of it.
Okay.
But yeah, at that time, around the 90s, we were just starting to discover craft beer, really, early 90s. But when he said he could make beer, of course, my eyes lit up. I'm like, you gotta tell me how this works. To me, it was like somebody saying I can make gold. It really was like, literally, it's like, what? You can make beer? It just seemed like such a foreign concept.
Yeah,
like you
I
could
could see
make it
that.
at your house.
I especially appreciate that back in the early 90s, too, because you didn't have all the resources that we have today.
No, it was.
So you would need somebody like that to come to you and say, hey, I know how to make beer. And then you want to be.
Yeah,
and
you-
then,
yeah,
and then
you-
have the other side of it that somebody's actually interested in making the beer.
Right.
You
Because
can't
he
search
probably,
the net
he
anymore.
might have went to 20 people and 19 of them said, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You're such
yeah.
a chemist, Mark.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they would have been like, but you can just buy it.
Exactly.
You know, because I've actually had people where I'm like, hey, I'm going to build my own computer. They're like, well, you can just buy one. I'm like, okay, yeah.
But I think,
Oh, yeah.
where your background, that makes sense because for you can get the right parts for each area of the computer.
Right.
Where if you enjoy beer more, you're going to get
Right.
the right
Exactly.
chemistry.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, when he said he was making 5-gallon batches, I'm doing the economy of scale right there going, oh, man. Okay. This is going to save some money right here.
So he was a chemist. Did he follow a recipe or was he just like, hey, I'm a chemist. I can figure this out?
I don't know how he got started into it because if he told me, I don't recall. But he overthought things.
I was going to ask
As we found
that.
out as we both started brewing, we'd trade beers later. And I think less than a year later, I asked him if he had anything to trade. And he's like, I'm not brewing beer anymore. I was like, what? Why?
Was he too structured with it, being the chemist part of it, and
He
not
was-
enough for the art side of it?
I think he was just overthinking things, and he was having bottles blow up in his cupboard, and I never had that. And his wife was kind of like done with that.
okay.
And,
All right.
he complimented me and just said his beer's not coming out like mine. And
Okay.
so that was it. I was hooked.
So it was blowing up in the cupboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not let
when
our
you're
wives
home-
listen to this because we're about to brew some.
Hooch.
Well, it was only, if there's too much active yeast still in there when you bottle it, or you give it too much more sugar, because you have to put some priming sugar in there to kind of carbonate. So the yeast will eat the sugar, give off that CO2, and it'll carbonate your bottle of beer. Well, obviously, if there's too much yeast or too much sugar,
Too much
there's only
carbonation.
so much space in that bottle before something's going to give.
It's like throwing in a Mentos.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Okay.
what happens.
Okay.
Almost the same thing. So, but anyway, that's going back to that. So yeah, started homebrewing way back then. Eventually moved to Portland, Oregon, where the craft beer scene was flourishing already in the
Is-
mid '90s.
Is that what took you to Portland, or was
No, it was too expensive in California.
Okay.
We were just kind of done with the crowds.
So what did you do for a living when you were in California?
I did a few things. Let's see. I fixed copy machines. I worked for Xerox. I did social work. I had a surfboard company. Very small backyard kind of thing. I shaped
Like
boards.
you
Shaping
built
boards?
your own?
Yeah.
You made your own surfboards?
Yeah, I had a little shaping business that I started in San Diego and then brought with me when we moved up. Well, I guess should back up. We also lived in Northern Cal for a few years.
Where at in NorCal?
We were in Sonoma County, current home of Lagunitas, which wasn't there when we were there, and Russian River Brewing, which these are huge breweries now.
Yeah.
You know, those hype breweries we talked about. But we were always just ahead of them. They would move in after we left. And when we lived in San Diego, there were not a lot of breweries. And of the ones that were there, most of them weren't really great. No offense, but they just were still figuring craft beer out. Now there's over 170 breweries in San Diego.
Jesus.
Wow.
So we were always just kind of ahead of that. But when we got to Portland, we're like, oh, California's behind in craft beer because there were so many breweries already there at that time.
Yeah, you know, I went to Eugene, Oregon, which is like a small town compared to Portland, but there's a ton of breweries there. This is going like 7 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I was actually surprised at how many breweries there were there.
Did you get to Nikasi?
I did not.
Nikasi is like the most popular one from there, yeah.
I did not.
That's a great college town.
Do you
Yeah,
know
I
like
do.
breweries like around the country off the top of your head? Like if I said I
well,
was
a
going to
lot of
like
them.
Dallas, Texas, do you know any brewers in Dallas?
Dallas. No, more in Austin, but
Okay.
yeah, there's 8,000 breweries now. So I would, 5 years ago I could have told you a lot more. But
It seems like there's certain areas though in the different regions that have like bigger pockets. Like Asheville's like kind of a southeast hub, if you will,
Sure.
right?
Oh,
And then there's
yeah.
like Portland's like so that kind of how it, and then they're slowly trickling out. Does that
kind
seem
of-
like
kind of funny. I read an article that where marijuana has been legalized recreationally is also the same places that craft beer exploded. And
And I think they have a
lot of-
higher concentration of hipsters too.
that could be. I think it's more of almost like the rebel
No offense against any
attitude
hipsters. I just
No.
think there's a higher
To
concentration.
the
We-
hipsters.
to the hipsters. We actually have a beer we just tapped last week called Soulless Hipster.
Okay.
Oh,
It's for the ones,
all right.
the ones who look the part, but they don't play the part.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah.
All right.
No
yeah.
offense to anybody out there, but it's a saison, so
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a pinky up kind of beer, but it's a delicate Belgian style beer. But
Okay.
Sounds good.
I feel like if I drank beer, I would drink Soulless Hipster.
Yeah. I'll give it a shot.
it's good. It's a great beer.
All right.
So anyway, that's all the background of that. We eventually moved to Washington, but then
So you were home brewing this whole time though?
home brewing that whole time,
Okay.
and we were going to breweries, we were going to beer festivals,
Doing your research.
Yeah, we were just really into the whole thing. We
Yeah.
realized how much the craft breweries were a part of the fabric of the community up in Portland.
Uh-huh.
And we moved to Eastern Washington after that, and it was emerging there. So it was a little behind Portland, but it was still close enough to Seattle because Seattle was also blowing up at the same time with craft beer. So the Pacific Northwest really already understood the value of brewing something locally, using local ingredients, and then giving back to the local community. So that was a huge part of our exposure to the entire beer culture.
Okay. And that was, when did you leave Portland to come to Florida?
Well, we left Portland, I think in 97 or 8, moved to Spokane, Washington, and we did 5 years there. We moved to Florida in 2003.
Okay.
I went back to school. One of the careers I forgot to mention I got into in the insurance business. And I had done social work. So I kind of transitioned from social work to insurance. At the time, we were still in California. There were a lot of fires, and there was the Northridge earthquake. A lot of just tragic things going on. And I would watch the news, and I wonder, who's helping these people? And I was a social worker, so I wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
I was working for 3 nonprofits, driving a 1962 Ford Falcon down the freeways in California. And I thought, how can I help people and still make a buck?
Right.
Yeah.
I had to pay my student loans and things like that. So I thought, hey, insurance guys, they help people.
Sure.
And I couldn't even read my own auto policy. I knew nothing about insurance. So,
Yeah.
fast forward, I got into the industry, and within 5 years, I pretty much was where most people were 10 years into it. just from the decisions I made and the positions I took. And that's how I went about it, was to help people, not to screw anybody, which everybody feels that way, especially in Florida. Hey, Florida, if you're listening,
They are.
insurance companies here suck. I'm just going to say flat out. Stuff that's done here would not go over legally out west. But so I did that for a long time. But I was dealing with death and destruction on a daily basis, because if it bled, blew up, flooded, burned, whatever, I had to deal with it.
And that's got to be tough, because you have to like take that in and then not hold on to it. Otherwise,
It's tough. There's two ways you can go as a claims adjuster, in my opinion, based on experience: substance abuse, or you become so jaded that nothing affects you anymore. We could talk for hours about stories of stuff I had to deal with, and there was nobody to prepare you for something that just shows up on your desk and suddenly you're immersed in these people's lives in super traumatic things.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to steel yourself to that. But after 10 years, I'm like, okay, I'm either going to cross into the substance abuse or I'm jaded. What else can I get into? And I went back to school, got a master's, and became an elementary school teacher.
That's right. Yeah, that's where you were before you did the jump, right?
That's
So-
correct.
So at this point, right, you kind of, I mean, you've been kind of all over the map as far as jobs. Literally. Yeah. Like, traveling is and going from different places, but then also like changing careers altogether.
Correct.
Now, is that because you just didn't love what you were doing?
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't love what you do, you spend a lot of time at work.
Now, did it ever take you did you ever get stuck and had a problem pivoting? And when I say pivoting, moving to another job or something like that, did you ever feel like I'm stuck, I can't move? And then you finally
I'm
moved?
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody feels that at some point.
Yeah.
You're either, you're burdened by debt, you're burdened by, somebody sick in your family, or you don't have money to move to another neighborhood. I mean, I think everybody at some point in their lives feels somewhat in a rut.
I do feel that. I feel like some people more than others, and some people get so stuck in that rut. I feel like personally, from seeing it in my own, experiences, they stay there way too long, or they really get stuck there. They get stuck to where they feel like they can't move. Now, I'm talking to somebody like you that has obviously moved location, jobs, several times throughout, your life so far. So to me, it doesn't, outside looking in, it doesn't look like you really got stuck for that long, because I know people that have been stuck for 15 years, they're still in the same
longer,
job. Yeah.
sure.
Or longer, and to me, it's just like, you can talk to them till you're blue in the face, but it's like, listen,
they're not going to move.
Yeah.
You can inspire people to want to make the changes, but they have to dig in and decide what they're willing to risk.
Now,
I think everybody wants safety and security.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because you have to find kind of the balance. What am I willing to risk and put up on the table here to possibly lose in order to get what I'm thinking I want?
Now, you said something here. I'd like for you to see if you can expand on that. So you said, if you don't like what you do, you spend a lot of time at work.
Oh, yeah.
What is that? What do you mean by that? Do you mean like, because it's always in your head?
Well, there's that, depending on what your role is at your job. Just if you want to just say a basic 8-hour work day, multiply by what do you get, 2 weeks off out of 52. Right. So you're working 50 weeks. If you travel for your job, you're always planning for the next trip. With school teachers, everybody thinks, oh, you got summers off. I had to take summers off towards the end of that career, because I always was enrolled in additional continuing education to keep my license certification.
How many years did you teach?
12 years.
I'm in 19 right now.
Good for you. What do you teach?
I'm kind of a science coach interventionist now at Vero Beach Elementary, but
nice.
I've been mostly 5th grade and PE back in the all elementary, but
There you go. Cheers to that. I did 4th and 5th grade for 12 years.
Where at?
We could share stories. The last place I worked was Liberty Magnet for 9 years.
That's right.
I did a couple of years at Pelican Island, and then 1 year up in Titusville when we first moved to Florida.
Right on. Yeah. So this whole time you've been working for the man, right?
Yes.
Quote unquote.
Oh,
and
yeah. I was in corporate America back in the day when I was 20. I was, according to my superiors, I was the highest rated employee in the corporation at my age. I was one step below management, which they offered me that position at 21. And I thought, wow, money, stock options, all that. I'm 21. They're going to own me already. So it's one of those things you look back, should I have done it or not? I can't say that. Financially, I would have been way better off.
So you,
spiritually, mentally, health.
So you had that much foresight at 21 to say no?
I did.
Because
I don't know if it was foresight or just didn't seem right.
I sincerely mean that, right? Because there's a lot of people who would take that and not realize that your life has changed because you were chasing the dollar instead of what your passion was. And passion can be relative, right? Because, I mean, maybe the dollar is your passion. So so for you, you obviously realized, maybe not, right?
Well, I think everybody's the sum of their parts is the way I look at it. One part that I didn't get into was how I got to California, which I packed my car. I had $800 in my pocket, my surfboard, and a microwave. I think I might have had a frying pan. And I just drove west. At that time I was thinking professional surfer. But yeah, so I was willing to leave everything I knew, which was in Florida, my family, and just go.
And how old were you at that point?
19. I was 19. So I wasn't.
But, young.
Do you ever feel like you ever got to a point, though? Because, like, the further you get into life, maybe I'm making this part up, or maybe this is my interpretation, it's harder just to pack up and go. Does it seem like that?
There's more anchors.
Because you have more anchors. So, yeah.
You develop more connections.
So I feel like at 19, it might be like, see ya.
Yeah, because it might not even be a mortgage and a car payment and school loans or anything, but just anchors can be anything. I mean, that could be relationships with your friends, stuff that...
Ailing parents, family members.
That was my anchor, right? Like, I had to help pay some rent.
Yeah.
So that's my anchor.
Oh, yeah. I think we all have those, but I agree. The longer we're walking the earth, the more connections we have to things, if we allow that.
Yeah.
There are people that I admire that are, there's a whole movement now about the minimalist. There's some really good videos.
Oh, yeah. Some great. I've seen a couple documentaries on that.
Yeah. I can relate to some of it. Lynn and I, my wife, have a saying, the more you own, the more you are owned.
100%, yeah.
That just resonated with us. Yet here we have this brewery with all kinds of equipment and things.
Yeah, but that's different.
That's more like trading. Yeah, that's trading. We'll take those things for enabling us to do what we love to do.
Yeah.
So we are investing in
yourselves and other. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. The more you own, the more you're owned. But like I said, I think even a lot of the anchors that we have are anchors that aren't necessarily bad things.
No,
they're connections and relationships that we've made. That
absolutely.
Roots. Yeah, exactly. It depends. You're not willing to give that up. You're not willing to trade that for the option of maybe something else.
Yeah. I didn't mean to say it was a negative.
No.
But that's a good point.
Responsibility.
It's good and bad roots or anchors, however you want to put it.
You
Definitely,
got your trees and you got your tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
And some people are a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So.
That's a great way to put it.
And this comes from somebody that thinks about selling everything on a weekly basis and living out of a van.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of YouTube videos about van life. I'm sure you've seen them.
We had to have like a couple that was van life on our. They called in. They live up in Savannah. We had an episode there, and they talked about that.
That's the whole reason why we went to Savannah. After that conversation, we're like, let's just go see. And then we ended up not
we ended up not to be able to kind of connect.
Yeah, we weren't able to get together.
Next time, guys, if you're listening.
Next time for sure. But
they got
so that's pretty crazy that at 21 you had that much foresight, because I would not have.
Yeah,
even at 40.
I don't know if it was foresight as much as it was like, I don't see myself doing.
Do you regret it?
Life. No.
Right? Because I mean,
you can't regret the decisions you've made. You can regret the things you didn't pursue. It's those decisions that you could have made and wonder, what if, I could have taken that management position, but I chose to finish school because they told me as a salaried employee, I couldn't just, keep going to school. So I was trading something that I had already started, which was a degree, for something known, which was, financial security and 9-to-5 job and all that good stuff.
So you did a lot of research in the regards of brewing your own beers and getting that. And then and you had a couple different careers paths. When did it happen that you're like, you know what, I'm ready. Let's just jump. Your wife and I are like, let's open this thing. We know what we're doing. Boom.
I don't know if it was like one cathartic moment so much as cumulatively. I gave up a lot of financial perks when I left the insurance business, racked up another 20-something thousand in debt for a master's degree to go be a school teacher, because it was something I really felt strongly was needed. I could give back. And I had worked for Boys and Girls Clubs. Like I said, I did social work. I had been a big brother for some underprivileged kids. So I thought, okay, I'll do this. And it's not about money. It's about that whole personal rewarding thing.
And how long did that last?
It was 12 years, but the last 2 were tough because I realized, and I was warned about this when I was getting my master's degree from one of my professors. They said, you do know that education is very political. And I was like, it felt like somebody just hit me in the stomach. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Why is it? And then, I didn't know. I was naive. I'm like, I just want to be a school teacher. I want to help kids.
No.
It's a political football.
Yeah.
Because my wife's there now. She took a significant pay cut to be an elementary school teacher, and she loves it. She's year 3. Okay, so
it's a tough.
But she wanted to give back. She wanted to have that sense of she's doing something good for her community, her world, whatever you call it, But that was so big to her. I remember at her other job, she came home one night when she finally made the decision to go back to school. She came home one night and she was crying. She didn't know what to do. She was, she's making good money, and at that point, we were both, mid-20s, and I was very like, whatever you want to do. We didn't have any overwhelming debt. We didn't even own a house at that point. I don't think we had a car payment, and we were both making good money. So it wasn't like we were strapped down to anything, So she continued working and went to school, but that's why I asked how long that sense of like, I want to give back last.
Yeah. Are you trying to see when she's going to be done?
Yeah. No,
is that what you're trying to figure out?
I'm just trying to get that average.
No, I got
I can honestly say it was 10
I can tell you,
years.
my wife took about 3.
And it's not for everybody, but that's,
No.
you find out, I'd say within this range, I'd say 3 to 5 is when you realize
2 to
if you're
3
going to.
is when they first started
first year-
evaluating whether, is this really what I thought it was going to be?
That's funny
Yeah.
because I had this conversation with her right before you got here. Was it tonight or last night? She knew you were coming on, and she had heard that you were a teacher. And I said, because she had gone to culinary school when she has, I think we still pay that student loan. But for a while, and Larry knows this, she wanted to open a cupcake truck, sell cupcakes out of a truck.
Yeah.
She may still want to.
In my
She's not
own
talking
stupidity,
about it.
in my own stupidity, I told her at the time that is not lucrative. We're not buying a cupcake truck.
So I bring that up every
Listen,
time.
that one's on me, folks. That's on me. I sincerely take that. I should have let her.
Yeah.
I should have went and bought the truck.
You should have.
I should have.
We still can.
But no, I asked her. I said, "Well, babe, if you could leave and go bake cupcakes tomorrow, he's brewing. I assume you love brewing. If you could leave and go bake cupcakes tomorrow, wouldn't you leave school?" And she's like, "Absolutely not. I can't leave my kids." And I'm like, "All right."
So she knows. So she's where she's supposed to be.
She's not there yet. I know that.
No,
and
she's
she's
telling
3
you
years
that.
in. Yeah.
Or she's just telling you that.
Yeah, probably, Larry.
She's where she feels she's supposed to be, and that's a
I'm
good
just saying.
thing.
You're not going to make me feel bad. Larry.
I know, but so listeners,
She's got caught in the middle here.
Listeners, so listeners know.
We're going to sit back and watch how this unfolds.
And crack another one here.
I think we got more beer here.
Larry knows. He wants to just rub it in, just twist the dagger. And listen,
So, Larry, what's your opinion on that? I'm just kidding.
You want that?
No, though.
I take ownership. Okay.
I think when you're ready. I
Yeah.
think you'll get to a point where
Yeah.
if the unhappy days outnumber the happy days of whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah,
You know?
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, because my wife, she was a school teacher for about 3 years. No, I think it's 3.
What did she teach?
First grade.
First grade.
Thanks, Jeremy.
She's my daughter's teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She was
There's the
first grade,
connection.
and she loved the kids. She loved teaching, she hated the politics.
That was me.
And so she's like, I can't do this. And I can't say I blame her, because it is what it is, right?
No, yeah, I agree. Once the bad days outnumber the good, and I had this problem in my current career. I was, hating life probably 6-7 years ago. And I gave myself an ultimatum. I either need to start liking this or quit.
Right.
So, I think even just as a mindset, if you're going to work with that mindset, like, I either like it, I'm going to like it today, or I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
So to me, I had to change my whole mindset, and I do like my job. I'm not in that frame of mind at all anymore, but I do remember being there, and just giving myself that ultimatum, like it or quit, because life's too short.
Sure.
But I think
we're not
anything
here that long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think anything you get into a
Right.
longer span, you're gonna have your ebbs and flows of those, really excited and then hit the lull. And that goes back to what you're saying. If you can't fight back into that place where you're happy, then you have to kind of make that.
When that gets harder to find.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get started? So you decide, all right.
Well,
I'm
Lynn and
done
I
with
talked
teaching.
about, because we had gone to so many breweries, so many pubs, and that whole culture of just cool old places and having a pint somewhere that just felt comfortable and meeting interesting people. We talked about it for 20 years. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a place, we'd do this, we'd do that. Well, I was much like you guys said, I loved the kids, I loved teaching, but the politics I was having trouble filtering them out. They were getting just further the joys of teaching were being overshadowed by all these people, all these grown-ups who were sitting in offices putting up charts. So
Yes.
so I
The
had
data.
to do some
We
soul
gotta see the
searching because
data.
that was a big career change to go from this lucrative insurance gig. We lived in a nice house where we were in Washington. I had a company car. I had a secretary. At one point, I worked my way into having an office in our basement.
Oh.
And I'd go snowboard in the morning and make phone calls from the top of the mountain for my afternoon
That
appointments.
sounds awesome for about 2 weeks. Then the cold would get to me.
It was awesome. In the summer, I'd go, hiking, mountain biking, or kayaking, and then go do my appointments. So I essentially was calling my own shots because of where I'd gotten to in that career. But like anything, it's still the work was the work. It wasn't enjoyable work. It was go meet these people whose house just burned down yesterday. Let me go talk to them for a while. So anyway, fast forward to Lynn and I, and then so we said, we've been talking about doing this for a while. I had gotten out of home brewing when we moved to Florida. Didn't have access to good ingredients. The water was terrible. Temperature control, that goes without saying.
When you say water is terrible, what do you mean?
Florida water is primarily terrible for making beer.
Really?
So
Except our county.
So we shouldn't use
At least our
tap.
county is an exception.
Should we not use tap water when we make our hooch?
Do hooch. Well, you're distilling it, so you're probably going to be fine. But for brewing, chlorine is a
Now, I say hooch. We met your friend the other day at
Scortino's?
Oh, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say.
and his son. What's his
Yep.
son's name?
Ryan.
Ryan. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Ryan.
Jim has a big part in our role of having a brewery, so I just want to say.
Okay. Yeah. You told us where they were at. We just look at the pictures.
And we're like, oh, they're closed. No, they really just relocated.
Yes.
So
But it still had the
That's
old picture from 512. So we drive by 512, knowing the town for so long. We're like, oh, they must not be there anymore. What is Google now?
Right.
Anyways, so just to fill our listeners in, we as me, Jeremy, and Larry have been discussing brewing our own beer for a while now.
a banana beer.
A banana beer.
That's right. You told me about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had this on. We've had a couple different breweries on. So we finally make the step the other day. We're going to go over to, again,
Scortino's.
Scortino and Son.
Okay, Scortino and Son. And they're a homebrew type place where you can buy all your homebrew stuff. So he sets us up with this wine-making kit for fruit wine. Some people have told us that it's hooch we're brewing. We don't even know what we're brewing at this point.
Yeah.
We just know it's going to be bananas in there.
So the backstory, the backstory.
Banana wine. I
Yeah,
like it.
so-
Banana wine sounds
Yeah, so,
really good.
Yeah.
So the backstory really is that we had a guy on, we just interviewed him not so long ago, and he basically makes like random stuff. So I want to get your take on this. All right. So he makes like random wines. Okay.
like cotton candy wine,
or bean
this is straight
burrito,
into-
Taco Bell wine.
He's a YouTuber, Phil Billy, and the man, he just gallon jugs and the ingredients, and he has some of the parts and
And that's
just
all he
does it.
does. And he says, you don't have to, he said, people get too technical. You don't have to get that technical. Okay? Like, just,
Now, when we talk to another brewer,
It's true. You can make alcohol with almost any form of sugar.
so we talked to another brewer, and he said, "You guys are going to make hooch." So we don't really know what we're brewing. Somewhere between hooch and wine, maybe.
If you're not making it in the toilet like they do in prison, then it's probably going to be
Yeah.
drinkable.
Okay.
right on.
Yeah.
well, just so you know, he mentioned that he's probably going to make a toilet wine.
He did.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Well, we all have dreams.
Yeah. Hey, listen, and I'm not here to knock anybody. Phil was a great guest.
Yeah,
he's
he's
a
funny.
hell of a
That's
character.
cool.
Like
Experimental. I love
yes.
it. I love it.
Bean
So
burrito.
we are gonna hopefully next week start our banana something, and then we are taking a class with Scortino
And Sons.
and
Nailed
Son
it.
Oh, cool.
on the
Fourth.
I don't know,
April 4th.
April 4th to learn how to brew real beer.
Are you guys going to do a podcast over there?
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna do a podcast with him, and
Good deal.
he's gonna show us actually how to do it. So we'll have both sides.
You're
Hooch?
going to the right
Yeah.
place. He's very
So-
knowledgeable. He helped us open our first place.
Oh, really?
Quick backstory with that is our wives worked together in the at the middle school here in town.
Oh, was your wife a teacher too?
She was actually admin assistant, so
Okay.
she worked office work.
Okay.
Where at?
Sebastian Middle.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, and so Jim's wife was a special needs teacher, and
Okay.
so they knew each other. We became friends with them over time, and then we ended up becoming neighbors. And I had stopped making beer because the first few batches I made in Florida were terrible. They were just awful compared to Washington, where the water was coming out pure, had all the minerals we wanted. I had a basement which had perfect temperature for fermentation. I didn't need any refrigeration.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got to help.
Yeah, so nothing in Florida was conducive, in my opinion, to making good beer at the time. But then he kept walking his dog by our house, and he's like, "You need to come try my beer. You need to come try my beer." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be down there sometime." I feel bad now because I was just I didn't want it to be terrible, and then I have to look him in the eye.
Now
and
that one's
tell-
on you. All right.
Exactly.
That
Oh, yeah, no, he knows. He knows. I fully give him credit. So finally I thought, I'm being a jerk. I need to go down and try Jim's beer.
Yeah.
And it was an oatmeal stout, and it was phenomenal. It was delicious. And so I picked his brain right then and there, and he's like, "Oh, if you temperature control online now, and there's a homebrew shop up in Melbourne at the time." And he just got the spark going. So I literally walked home from his house, went into my attic, and pulled out all of my brewing equipment, and then just lost it. I brewed 60 gallons in 2 months, got an extra fridge for the garage. I bought a bunch of kegs. I had just beer coming out of my ears, inviting friends over. "Hey, you guys want to come over for a beer?" They're like, "Okay." I'm pouring pitchers. I'm like, "Here, man,
He's like,
I
"Gotta
got
get
a lot of beer." And of course, they weren't complaining. And so, yeah, I credit Jim for sparking that enthusiasm.
So he
again.
didn't have a store at that point, I guess.
No, he was a cabinet maker.
Oh, okay.
Still is
Yeah.
part-time. That's why the hours on his shop, he's still doing that. But yeah, I give Jim full credit for inspiring me to pursue that. And I remember his laugh. Have you met Jim?
Yeah, briefly.
laugh.
We dealt with
I
his
mean-
son mostly, but we met him
Okay,
briefly.
when you meet Jim,
Yeah.
make him laugh. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's got one of the best laughs on earth.
Okay.
And when I told him one day that we were opening a brewery, that laugh came out.
Now, you have the first brewery here in Sebastian, right?
Yes, we opened the first one in 2014.
2014. Yeah, it's crazy. Even in our little town, there's a few breweries here.
There's 2 now. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm counting Indian River County as well, right?
Indian River County has, quite a few. You've got 3 down in Vero, Walking Tree, American Icon, and Orchid Island.
yeah.
And then 2 up
And then
here. So we
2.
have 5 in the county. There's now 10 on the Treasure Coast.
Now,
I'm one of the co-founders of the Ale Trail, so I know.
What's the ale trail?
Oh, speak to that.
The Treasure Coast Wine and Ale Trail Gary from Summer Crush Winery called me one day when we were still at our old place, our smaller place. And he said, hey, I've been thinking about doing a trail. I go, pretty short. Aren't you the only winery? He's like, okay, smart ass. Yes, that's why I'm calling you. And I had wanted to kind of pull something like that together just to promote craft beer. That was ultimately, besides, let me back up real quick. Besides just being a little discontented with my career, Lynn and I both were just dying for good craft beer locally. We were driving up to an hour or more away to go find good craft beer. So it all kind of culminated with, hey, we know how to brew. We love this whole thing. Why don't we just do what we said we were going to do for 20 years? So that's kind of where that went. But anyway, so seeing that the trend was starting to happen in Florida overall, that he was the inspiration. Gary got me off my butt and said, okay, let's just do this. So I contacted everybody who I knew was opening a brewery, already had a brewery, which at the time was 4. There were 4 open on the Treasure Coast, I believe, and 2 in planning. So we had a total of 6 back then. And so we partnered up with the Indian River and the St. Lucie Chambers of Commerce and met at the winery. I invited everybody I knew in the brewing side, and we launched the trail. So now there are 10 breweries, a cider works, and the winery on the trail. And basically people go around, get a stamp at every location that they stop, and then they'll get a souvenir glass with cool. The logo on there. And I think now we've printed tens of thousands of maps over the years.
That's awesome.
It was just to encourage people to, hey, come on down and check everybody out.
Now, as far as like competition with them, do you view all of them as competition, or is it more like a community?
It's a community.
Yeah.
I consider it like family.
Yeah.
If we need something, we call each other. I actually just, a friend of mine at another brewery called me out of the blue. Hey, I'm really desperate for some yeast. He drove up and I gave it to him.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
you don't have to do that. That's,
Yeah, there's enough for everybody.
There's enough for everybody. We're all doing similar things, but we all have our own thing we're doing. You can walk into 5 breweries and not even taste the same kind of beer.
And do you guys still have the ukulele night, or did you have?
We do. Every other Sunday is the Pareidolia Ukulele Choir.
What?
And it's
Have
free.
you ever thought
time
about
is that?
doing a kazoo?
1 to 2.
A kazoo choir.
Let me say.
That's the only thing.
Or can we just crash it into
This is the only thing I know how to play. Okay.
And when he says he knows how to play,
I mean, he can kind of hum.
They're jealous.
I am a little jealous, I guess.
Let's put it this way. If you want to show up with a kazoo, man, we will put you up there. With
this Sunday.
That's what I like
This
to
Sunday,
hear.
are we in?
All right.
We take all comers, man.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I've seen people who never picked up an instrument come to that ukulele choir because the first part of it is lessons and the second part is like an open mic.
Uh-huh.
And people who never played an instrument were playing 3 songs before they left the brewery that day.
Do you get families at that event, or is it more of an adult feel?
Yeah.
We do. I mean, I've seen kids. I've seen kids in there.
I just think of my kids would like to dig that.
Absolutely. No, I've definitely have seen kids in there. There's no age to it. I would say the average age is probably a little on the older side.
Sure.
But it's by no means closed to young people at all. I've seen middle school, elementary
that's cool.
kids in there.
So you have somebody who's like a teacher?
Yes, there's an instructor, a musical instructor. We have a projector with a screen, and they put up the chords. They show where the fingers go, and they just practice strumming until everybody gets it.
Man.
Do you play?
I play guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you
I
could
have
pick
a
up an ukulele.
ukulele.
And
Yeah, my wife bought me one years ago, and it's a baritone uke, which is like the first 4 strings of a guitar. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like, oh, I can do this.
my wife's from Hawaii. She grew up there. She's
Nice.
Yeah, and
He's got like a 12-string.
it's
Oh, wow.
it's
It's
pretty-
not a 12. But it's double string.
It's
like
an 8-string.
Yeah.
But I can't play it. I can play it I was able to for a bit, like a couple songs, nothing, maybe like a
You
kazoo
need to
style.
come to the uke choir.
I'm gonna have to check
You
it out.
should
That's just
definitely
kind of a neat way to maybe get in there and
Larry's
learn
got
something,
a
right?
uke too.
You have one.
Okay. Don't let him lie to you.
I have 2.
Okay,
so you can
Larry's
borrow
got
one.
2.
Awesome.
Well, I have a really nice, like legit koa
think-
wood one,
I
and then I
don't.
have a frozen one
Listen,
I have a
that my daughter
plastic.
plays.
I have a
if
plastic
there's
one.
one thing I'm not lacking is fear. Or I don't got fear to play. I don't think they want me to play though. Okay.
It sounds like fear.
I like the idea of the ukulele and
Smells like
learning a
fear.
few things.
Yeah.
That sounds
I
cool.
think you need to show up to open mic one Wednesday night.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm saying.
Oh,
Show
this-
up with your
with my
ukulele.
So
kazoo?
you've hit a few
Oh, yeah.
different nights. You have some different things. Do you want to go through some of the things that you have that are weekly events and stuff? That sounds.
Well, Wednesdays are the open mic jam, which we've got kind of a core group of people. Robert Johnson kind of orchestrates it. He's a local musician. But there's groups of guys that'll come in and they'll play with somebody who wants to sit in, or if somebody wants to play on their own, they just sign up,
Larry,
come up and play.
next time your dad's in town, you guys get up
Well,
there.
I was gonna ask, like, so Robert Johnson, would he let like a 12-year-old play with him?
Sure. Oh yeah, we've had kids come in. Oh, absolutely.
That's good. Yeah.
There's some local high school kids that are into jazz, and they come up and do some stuff. We've had bagpipes, mandolin, fiddle, stand-up bass.
But the first time kazoo will be me.
you will be the first kazoo player.
You should totally do it.
So when this goes live, you better be ready because someone's going to hear that and they're going to be like, "Oh, I'm getting there first."
Oh, you're getting signed
What's
up.
the
Who you
song
talking
though?
to?
What's the song?
Whatever's song.
Mary had a little lamb.
Listen, I can play them
Yeah,
all.
but Stevie Ray Vaughan version or a regular old version?
You just tell them what you want to play, and they'll play it.
Okay.
These guys are so talented. The level of musicianship that comes into our place continues to just awe us, really. Lynn and I were like, wow, there's so many talented people that just live locally, let alone that come to visit, passing through and play. But yeah, our whole thing, we have no TVs. We talked earlier about the talking. There are no TVs.
Oh, that's awesome.
We didn't have them at the old place. We don't have them in the bigger place.
I never even really thought of that.
No, but
yeah.
that's
People take it
fantastic.
for granted until we point it out, and then they're like, oh, okay, I'm not distracted. That's cool.
Yeah.
A lot of friendships have been made. We know of at least one couple that got married, having met at our place, which is cool. But it's everybody's digitally connected, and it's just not the same. As you guys know, this is why we're all sitting here right now. It's not the same. The sharing of ideas, patting somebody on the back who needs a pat on the back. Good job, or hey,
It never
day.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't happen digitally. You have to have a human there.
We were just talking about this too, reading through a couple books, and one of the books that I'm reading through is like just kind of like how things catch on. And really how things catch on, people think it's through digitally, but it's not. It's actually through word of mouth.
It's that
Organic.
grassroots style kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of
Organic
starts.
Yeah, everything is through word of mouth.
Yeah, because people will trust word of mouth a lot more than they will an online review.
100%.
Well, you can paint a completely false picture, I think, on social media or online.
Right.
100%.
Living that Facebook life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the gram.
Or you can only fake that so long in person, it's going to eventually catch up to you.
Well, people are only posting what's awesome about their life on social media. Nobody's life is that awesome every day.
No.
Maybe there's a few. Sorry, there's
Every day is
probably a
awesome.
few. Probably one of the Kardashians would disagree, but how can your life just be awesome all the time? It can't. And that's the false sense of social media. But in our place, it's real people. Real company, real conversation, real music. We're a little particular about what kind of music we like to bring in. If it's being done in a lot of other places, there's other places people will go. We try to attract talent from out of town or locally that's just got something different. A kazoo, I don't know if I'll book you for a full gig.
I feel like you should.
I would invite you
My
as
fear
a guest
is-
musician.
My fear is just being pelted with so much money, people throwing it at me. Like, that's my
Coins.
only fear.
Coins. Yeah.
You know what?
That copper hurts. That copper hurts.
When they wad the hundreds up, like, they can become very hard, like the
Sure.
bricks of hundreds.
Oh yeah.
So I don't.
No, and you
or
would get
I don't
that
want
at
to
our
be.
place.
Yeah.
There are people who they appreciate if you have never performed in front of people and they find out it's your first time.
Yeah.
You get standing ovations there.
Oh,
it's
I'm in.
pretty
I'm
incredible.
gonna do
well, that
it.
sounds like a great place to start.
I'm doing it.
I've watched.
Now,
They're gonna give me a.
Do I have to sing or no?
a false
No,
sense
if you just want to play and have somebody sing, or if you just want to play and they play along, whatever you want to do.
I don't think anybody here can sing.
Larry's got the best singing shot, I think. Yeah.
Back when we first opened and this thing hadn't really, the open mic thing hadn't really taken off, I would go up there and say, all right, you guys are stuck with me because nobody's volunteering.
I like it.
I can't sing either, and I barely play guitar. but I would get through 1 or 2 songs and somebody inevitably in the back, I can play. All right, here you go. Come on.
That's
up.
awesome.
So
That's awesome.
Don't be afraid. Just try it.
Now,
what's the worst thing that can happen?
That's my whole.
I feel like no matter what, you're
pretty
going to
much
typically
life,
stage
that's-
having laughing or
What's the
smiling.
worst that can
Oh,
happen?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to walk out of there going, that was pretty awesome.
What I always tell people is like, for me, like you can't really embarrass me. Like it's been done to me. You know what I mean? So
You strike me that way.
yeah. So for the most part, like
We've tried.
I will own it. Like if I'm like, yeah, that happened to me. It's okay. But so when you started Pareidolia, if you don't mind my digging into the business side of it,
Sure.
did you already have the capital?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, just enough. Let's put it that way. If those doors didn't open in 2 more weeks, we were up that creek.
You know, like,
We were self-funded. Let's put it that way.
wow.
So you didn't take out a big loan or anything like that, or
No, they don't loan to you when you're trying to open an industry that doesn't exist.
okay?
Yeah, if
That's
you're-
right. Makes sense.
It's counterintuitive.
yeah.
You try to get money as a small business loan, and they're like, "Well, you don't have a history." I'm like, "Well, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to build a history."
Isn't that weird? It's kind of like when you're trying to land your first job, and it's like they expect you to have experience, and you're like, but okay,
Yeah,
Where
you
am I
said
supposed to
this
get
was
it?
entry level.
Yeah.
right?
How is that entry level if I already know what I'm doing? Why would I be sitting here with you?
Exactly.
It's true.
I'd be on the
so
other side of
weird.
the I'd be on the other side of the desk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I used to always think about that when I was trying to land a job. They'd be like, "Yeah, but we want somebody to experience." I'd be like, "Then why are they entry? I don't understand."
Or
So-
even worse, why are you interviewing me? Because I sent in my resume.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Or
That's a
you
fair
looked at my
point, yeah.
application,
Yeah.
like
So
So
too, and you know, like that story right there. 2 weeks more, the doors, if they wouldn't have opened.
we were to the wire. Yeah, there were a lot of things that just, I like to say they were a little bit bigger than us as far as how they were unfolding. We couldn't have controlled. They just kind of were happening. We cashed in some retirement funds we had, took our savings,
But that's a lot on the line when you start cashing in.
It
Your
was all we
retirement.
had.
Yeah.
It was all we could swing.
Yeah.
But at this point, you're neck deep.
Yeah.
but you
It's
know
like,
what
well,
though?
it's got to work.
I appreciate that you're like you basically bet on yourself.
We did. Oh yeah, we were confident that we could do it. We just needed to get the doors open. That's what we kept. It was a mantra. We just got to get those doors open.
Hey, that's a lot better though than somebody like me, because I have a harder time, I think, betting on myself sometimes than I do like betting on black.
Yeah,
Go to a casino, I can bet on black.
yeah, but that's just it, right? I feel like that's almost 99% of the people. Honestly,
Yeah, and listen, I've come close a couple of times, like to making that swing, and I always back off. I look at that retirement account and I go, I can do it, man. I can do it. But then it's like the doubt starts to creep in, and and it just always ends up
I have
going
a
another
question
way.
for you.
What's that?
When you were 21, could you wait to retire? Like, oh my God, I can't wait to retire. Or did you look at older people like we all did and go, man, what are they doing?
Yeah.
We didn't understand them. They didn't understand
Yeah,
us.
I think at 21, and I didn't come off or wasn't raised in a family that was very well off. I think
Likewise.
at 21, I was still thinking, how can I make $1?
yeah, me too.
I was still figuring out how to make
How
$1.
can I- yeah.
I'll be on. I was chasing the dollar at 21. There was
yeah.
no
I was
doubt
year
about
one
it.
at PE teacher at Felsmer Elementary.
Yeah, I
Were
had
you
no.
really?
Yeah.
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 22.
Yeah.
Year one, right out of college. Boom.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take on.
Yeah,
I was a career changer, so I was like in my 30s when I took over a bunch of kids. I'm like, how do you young people do this?
I did a lot of camp
guys
work
are
and stuff
straight-
like that to know how to work with the youth. So I had
Okay.
that background.
You had some background.
But as far as the money background, I never had any money. So that was like, even though it was people, teacher money, it was still for me. I was like, oh, and then that summer hit with those checks, I was like, into the summer, like, I ain't got no money.
Oh, yeah.
I got a month left. I have no money.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
That was a lesson learned quick.
I painted houses one summer when I was a teacher. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, our taxes just
Yeah, I
went
had a
up
second
on the
job.
house.
I remember you
second
working at
job
the
for-
Gap.
I did that right out of the gate, and then I ran the rec department in Felsmere. That was before I met Malia. So
Yeah.
like I was there from like morning when school started to like 9 at night, just doing
Wow.
rec stuff, like 4 days a week, probably sometimes Saturdays.
Let
Whatever.
me
You
ask
do
you-
what you have to do.
Yeah,
You know,
back
bottom
then
line.
though, you're young, your energy's going. It wasn't that.
Yeah, yeah.
Now to do that with kids and everything, it's like, oh god.
Let me ask you a
Yeah,
question.
We couldn't go back and do the things
Yeah.
we did. I know that.
about the business.
Sure.
Just curiosity. Now, do you like brewing better, or would you rather serve, like bartend? Or do you bartend at all? I don't know.
I don't bartend too much anymore. We've got staff. I mean, I help out when we're slammed.
Yeah.
I still love going out and talking to customers, though.
Yeah.
Even my one of my assistant brewers, Clay, he's a young guy. Great kid. I've been bringing him in the back more now because we've been really busy. I said, hey, are you okay with, still picking up some shifts up front? Because he still tends bar up front. And he said, yeah, I would miss the customer connection too. So even he appreciates being up there.
Well, it's different, right? Because it's kind of like to me, I think of a few things, like craft beer's one, cigars the other one, and coffee. To me, those are like the great conversation pieces. To me, like because I could sit there and have a cup of coffee. And that's actually what I enjoy. My morning is I actually, my wife drops off our kid. She gets back and we just sit back and we BS over a cup of coffee.
That's great.
And that's every morning.
More people should
Now,
do
do you
that.
guys just sit and talk over the cup of coffee, like pretty much every morning?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is
That
great.
really
That's
is
quality
awesome.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing
I
that
wish
we're
I had
all-
that. I wish I had that with my wife. I mean, because of our schedules different,
Yeah, it's
we don't
just
get
different.
that. I mean, that's
I'm very fortunate for
that's
that.
a blessing for sure.
100%. So coffee, my last great conversation I had with my mom was over a cup of coffee.
Man, that just hit me right there. Like I was like,
it was though, for sure. Like I remember it, and it was at a Starbucks.
so you remember what coffee it was?
100. Yeah, I
Cafe
remember the
Americano
day. It was actually my birthday.
Oh,
Yeah. And basically, like, she had a doctor's appointment, and I took the day off because it's my birthday. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to take it off. I don't know. I just took it off. And we went to the Starbucks, and I met with Tom and Joe for lunch at Hurricane. But we're just trying to kill time. And I was like, let's just go get a cup of coffee, because she's like, Starbucks to her is like, I don't know what the hell that is, I just drink coffee at home.
I could see her like kind of commenting
It's-
probably on Starbucks.
Yeah, so I was like, let's just go in. I'll order you something, and we'll have some. And that was like literally like we just killed 2 hours just drinking coffee. It was fucking
That's
great.
great.
So, and the other one is craft beer, cigars, and you can just have a great conversation over each one of those.
Because you're sitting down to have a craft beer, you're setting aside some time for that.
That's it. It's
You
the
don't got
time.
other things on your mind.
Yeah.
It's like that excuse for the time. And, we've, smoked several cigars, probably too many cigars together,
Right.
over the years, But that's how I feel about a cigar. Like, I sit down to have a cigar. I would never smoke a cigar just to go out and smoke a
Yeah,
cigar.
I wouldn't either.
Like, I wouldn't go sit on my front porch and
It's the
just
social aspect.
burn a cigar for 5
It's a lot.
minutes.
It,
and
it
throw
means a
away.
lot. I think
Yeah.
like I look like even for when we know we have our our schedule to sit down with someone we've not really ever met before, and I feel like leading up to it sometimes it's like, oh, I got this and this and this. Sometimes it just gets in your brain, but when you get here and you stop, you're in it. It's gold.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
magic.
Every time I leave here, like
And
feeling
that's
like I had
probably-
a therapy session almost. And
Yeah.
all it was is a few stories shared, but you feel like, oh, that was pretty cool, and you feel
Yeah.
ready to move on, and
Yeah.
you get something out of it every time.
Yeah.
No, I think what you guys do, and I didn't know you until you guys walked up to me on the deck the other day at the brewery.
Yeah, we do a lot of cold
And,
calls.
I thought maybe
or
is
cold
that the
visits.
gorilla part of this? They just like show up and start doing a podcast on you. And,
We just put a mic in your
Yeah.
face.
There's a new
yeah, there's a new tactic. for
bit.
ya. But no, now that I know kind of what your MO is and what you guys are trying to do, I raise a glass to that because quality time is something that it's slipping away more and more. The more modern we get, the more dialed in we get, the more plugged in we get. Quality time.
Yeah.
You've got a small child, a couple maybe.
Mine are both in elementary right now.
Yeah.
It goes so fast. If you could just bottle that and say, oh, I'm always going to have this feeling of how cool it is to like spend time with my kids, and there's nothing else right now that I should be doing.
It's so great. Yeah.
Mine's a toddler now, and I look at him and I'm like, God, I can't slow it down.
No.
No.
This
And
year,
he's still really young, and I'm like, I still look at him. I'm like, that whole Peter Pan, little boy should never go to bed. Like it rings home to me
Oh,
so
yeah.
much. Like I probably repeat it to myself probably twice a week. little boy should never go to bed.
Yeah.
You know,
It's hit me hard like this year. Like my oldest is in 5th, and so I'm about to have a middle schooler. So like there's gonna be just a shift in life, and before I know it, high school, and before you know it, it's like.
Well, we were talking about going to Paris in 5 years.
Yeah.
And we sat down and thought about it, and we're like, oh shit, my son's graduating that year.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
You
My
know?
daughter will be in high school. Like
Yeah.
that's 5 years is not long at all.
Yeah, but anyways, yes.
You give away the graduation gift and say, guess where daddy's going tomorrow? Go to the airport.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly it. So you open up the doors. You have 2 weeks left. What is going on from you saying, all right, I'm gonna take out my money and I'm gonna bet on myself. I'm gonna go ahead and open up my own brewery. What is the first thing you buy?
The first thing you buy?
That you bought. Yeah.
Well, you have to have a space. So you got to drop some coin on lease. And it's funny now, in hindsight, what we thought was so much money because running a brewery is so expensive. But we didn't know,
Sure.
So it was really kind of an odd feeling. Both of us were, we didn't know how to feel. We were actually shopping around for a place that we were going to create this thing that we had talked about for 20 years. It's kind of an odd place to be mentally because we both had secure jobs. We had we live in a nice neighborhood.
Nice retirement.
Yeah, I got retirement kick in. I mean, everything from the outside looking in that everybody says they're seeking, we had. Yet here we were, like shopping for,
A way out.
commercial space. Yeah. Well, not even the way out so much as the next thing, I guess, is the way we look at it.
It's probably a better way to put it.
But I guess, talking about money and teachers and all that, I guess the upside is, well, I already knew I wasn't making that great of money. It took me 12 years as a school teacher to make what my base salary was in my old job.
Yeah.
So I went 12 years till I said, oh, wow, I remember these checks way back then. Back when the cost of living was lower and I didn't have all this debt. But, so shopping around for a space, that's the first thing you go for. And then, of course, brew equipment, which Jim's Cortina was great. I was bouncing a lot of things off of him.
Did you buy brand new brew equipment or used?
I did. It was, it really was kind of like home brew equipment on steroids. It was, 55-gallon kettles, electric. They were fired by electric elements. We didn't have a lot of room. The next thing was drawing out. Where's all this going to happen? I love when people tell us you can't do that. Because when I said what our budget was, first thing I heard from everybody, you can't open a brewery with that kind of money. Okay, well, there isn't one here now. So I guess we could start how much it takes to open a brewery. So we'll start there. You can't brew in this small room. I mean, we're sitting in, I don't know, what is this room, 8 by 8? I think my brew room was 10 by 10. I was putting out 4,000 gallons a year in a 10 by 10 room. We had height. The ceilings were tall. So me being 6'5", I'm like, hey, I'll just go up with everything. Which for Jim, this is for you. He's height challenged, and he would always comment about how hard everything was to reach back in that brew room when he would be back there brewing with me and helping me out. But
That is awesome.
that's all we had. We had up. We didn't have out. And then, of course, kitchen from the get-go, we knew we wanted food. So that was on Leanne, and she's done a fantastic job with the kitchen. And I think as many people come in now for the food as they do for the beer.
Yeah, my sister and brother-in-law come in to get something. God, I can't remember what they go there to get.
Do you have something that everybody kind of comes for? Like it's like your specialty?
You have a sandwich or something?
We don't. We've been searching for that one thing that everybody just has to have, but and I'm not even making
The beer.
it up. There's that. But even that, I mean, our zip code's a big seller, but I guess the food and the beer across the board, whatever we end up coming out with is almost mutually popular, which tells me that, it's all decent.
Yeah.
Nothing ever really, it's not like we bump stuff off the menu or that beer's never going to get brewed again. It's, we're in the process right now of reconfiguring the kitchen, getting some new equipment and just kind of redesigning the menu a little bit. Len is doing all that. But we knew from the get-go from the places that we would go to out west that are still open 30 years later, You know, if you want to talk about it in a business sense, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
It's cool to be innovative. It's great. I mean, the craft beer industry is kind of innovative in its own way because there's so many of them and they're all doing their own thing. But humans have been making beer for thousands of years. So
Yeah.
what we're innovating is just reflective of what people are wanting right now.
Yeah.
The New England IPA is a good example.
Yep.
Some old styles are coming back that were popular 200-300 years ago. Now people are like, oh, those were such good beers. So yeah, it's we don't really have one thing that we could say, but our paninis are very popular.
Okay.
It's hot, it's filling. You're going to walk away going, wow, I'm full. I got my money's worth. Service was good, great environment. Washed it down with a beer that's fresh. You know, our beers don't sit around very long. We only make 5 barrels at a time,
Which is great.
Yeah, we had a chance when we were looking to expand into our current location. We had a chance to go to a production brewery, 5,000 square feet, with another 15,000 to expand if we needed that. Huge loading dock, close to 95. We had a party out there.
I feel like I know where that's at.
I feel like we do.
We've been out there for, yeah.
It was out there by the shooting range.
Yeah,
That was a big
Yeah,
thing out
we
there.
almost opened up a gym
Did you?
Yeah.
back in the day.
There's some
Those-
great space out there.
Yeah, there was a nice spot.
But yeah, we had a party there and everything. We were going to keep our old place to be our.
Hold on,
tasting
Corey
room.
wants to try to make fun of me. Go ahead.
Jeremy's still teaching. They don't have a gym.
That is correct. It was one of those things. We got to a certain point, and then I let other anchors kick in, and I was like, I'm backed out.
Well, timing. Sometimes it's just timing. Maybe not now. Maybe
Right.
a year from now.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There,
I
How
want to
many
point out.
years ago
I
was
want
that?
to point
That
out. Also, Larry doesn't own a gym either. Okay.
That's because
Yeah.
his buddy backed out.
that's because
Well,
he doesn't want to yet.
doesn't-
When he wants to, Larry will own.
Okay.
He'll own a gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey.
No, he wanted to.
I
He
did.
told me.
I did. I did.
Yeah.
Now,
His mindset has changed since then. I'll give you that.
yeah, because now I might open.
I think,
a
yeah,
food truck.
Cool.
I think that's, I need to look into that.
Tacos.
Mm-hmm.
You're never gonna go wrong with tacos.
I agree.
You're not.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
You're not. He's gonna at least have me there eating them.
I'll be there.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
I think you have all the buddies will be there.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So, so you open up the doors, 2 weeks. Do you
were
remember making
down
your
to the
first sell?
wire. We were down to the wire where there were no funds left. And you can't sell your beer until you get what's called a brewer's notice from the federal government. You just can't.
Is that what you're waiting on at the end?
We were waiting for that. Some people, during the big boom of openings, some people were being told 6 to 8 months. So here you've got your building, you've sunk all this money, maybe you quit your job. You can't sell a drop of liquid until that thing is in your hand. And as fate would have it, the day we finally said, we need to have a soft opening and kind of run through things, we were just going to give samples away. That was it. And sell guest beer. We had a license to sell other people's beer, but to sell our own, we still were waiting on that.
Okay.
The morning of our soft opening at like 6:30 a.m., my email pops up. There's my brewer's notice.
Oh.
So I jumped out of off the sofa and said to Lynn, we got it. We can sell our beer. And so that was it. At that point, I knew once that was in hand, we were going to be okay because now money's starting to come the other way. So we had 2 soft openings, 2 nights in a row, just to work the bugs out. We had a mug club, so we invited half the mug club the first night, half the mug club the second night. So a lot of them were friends and people we kind of knew. And then Labor Day weekend, we were just going to throw the doors open. We didn't advertise. However, the reporter who did the first story on us happened to call on a Wednesday. She goes, hey, I want to follow up. We did an article about you guys opening a brewery. Where are you at? I'm like, we're opening on Saturday. Boom, it's in the Friday paper. I was like, oh, okay. So much for just kind of opening the doors and easing into this.
How did that go?
It was chaos. It was pure chaos. Standing room only. I mean, our place was only 1,200 square feet, the entire thing. And it was mobbed for about 8 hours. You couldn't move in there.
That had to
It's
feel good
insane.
though, right?
It felt awesome.
Yeah.
It was,
I'm sure like after putting out all that money and investing so much in yourself and taking that risk to actually see people in your place, your establishment.
Yeah. I mean, just talking about it now kind of brings that back. You kind of take for granted now all these years later, but it was incredible. At one point, I remember just looking out, I'm tall enough I could look out over all the heads. And everybody was smiling and everybody was drinking our beer. And I thought, okay, you know what? Even if it only lasts today, it's better than some people ever get.
That's a great moment right there. That's a great moment.
Took the swing.
Yeah. Now, could you go back to a 9-to-5 ever?
No.
I feel like that's become a question for business owners, and every time it's a no. And I get it. I mean, I don't get it. I've never done it, but
it's a lot of things in my opinion, right? People think like, oh, you're your own boss. I don't think that's it. I think it's that you've created something.
I think that's it
yours,
right there.
And this is your passion because you've created this. So that's really what it boils down to, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, when we were walking through the space we leased, it was the building had been vacant for like 10 years or something, which was weird because there was a whole plaza, but this part of the plaza just stayed vacant. Still had dirt floors.
Now you're not there now, right?
No, that was our first location.
Where was the first location at?
It was a little plaza.
Is that the one next to that was ice cream shop?
Next to Paradise Ice Cream.
Right by the splash pad.
Where Italian Cousin is.
Okay. That was your first spot.
That was our first place.
Okay.
But the building we were actually in didn't have, anything. There was still dirt floor in there. I guess the guy who used to own it ran out of money or something. So to go from that.
Yeah, because it was empty for a long time.
Like 10 years, they said.
You're right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I never realized that.
We're looking on the back going, look at that river view. How did this place stay vacant for so long?
A nice spot.
It was a great spot. I mean, but we could only afford that. Would we have loved 2 spaces? Yeah, but we didn't have the money.
Yeah.
So, although I'll say this, I've been to that spot when you were there, and it was cool. I liked the look.
Oh, we pulled it off. I mean, it was a sleeper because when you pull up, you're like, oh, it's a plaza. How cool is this? But it was so neat to watch people walk in and just ogle. Because we created this space that did not exist, and it was totally not what was around here.
Yeah.
We took influences from all of our trips around the country and the Pacific Northwest, California, and just said, let's just make this a funky, cozy place where people walk in, they don't know what's going to come at them. It was pretty cool to see that same reaction from so many people, and they would verbalize it, which affected them. They're like, "Yeah, we pulled up. We're like, oh God, how good can this be?"
Yeah,
it's a strip mall.
Yeah,
it's a brewery in a strip mall.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's for all those people out there that are searching, don't judge the brewery by the cover. Go in there and check it out.
Yeah, at least taste the beer, right?
Yeah. Go check them out because people are, like you said, the creativity. There's so much creativity in the craft beer industry, whether it's on the product itself, the space itself. How can they integrate themselves into the community to bring everybody up?
Yeah.
There's so many different ideas just everywhere. That's the part of this industry that is so incredibly cool. I'm humbled by all the people I meet that are just full of cool ideas.
Yeah.
So it's inspiring. But that's probably, like you said, the biggest reason I couldn't go back and work for somebody else. I would have to be sharing in their vision, which is fine. I don't mind helping people with their vision, but to share their vision, it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Where Lynn and I had our vision, we moved everything forward to make that a reality. And we had a ton of help. It wasn't just us. Just like I said, there were people that come out of the woodwork that you would never expect. All of a sudden, they're there. Hey, what do you need? Or hey, I heard you need this. So the community support, friends, family.
Absolutely. That goes to those roots that you've built though over all those years.
So those seeds, and hopefully when you need them grow.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's one thing that me and Corey have talked about before we wrap this up. Like we've talked about basically there's no self-made man really, where people help you out. You have mentors, you have all these elements that make you yourself, that make you you. And it's just inspiring.
Yeah, you're the sum of your parts, and those parts come from everywhere. So
yeah,
Yeah, no, it's been a wild ride. It's been a pretty cool ride. Now craft beer, when we opened, there were less than 100 breweries in Florida. Now there's over 300.
Yeah.
So
There's a bunch, and
Now, the Mug Club, you mentioned the Mug Club.
Yes.
Now, how do you guys do the Mug Club?
We have 100 mugs, and it's a membership. They pay $75 annually, and they get a party at the end of the year. They get discounts on things, special beer releases. They get.
Do they
first.
bring their mug in with them, or do you?
No,
keep
they
it?
stay in house.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a place in Minnesota that they hand cast them. It took me 2 months to find somebody who still did this art on a larger scale.
Okay.
So they're all individual. When you come in and look at them, none of them are exactly the same height. They all have different glazes on them. They are handmade mugs. They are artwork.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh,
It is cool.
I'm interested in just a mug.
So, well,
Just-
we're actually
just by itself.
Funny you should say it. We just refreshed our mugs. We got new models in after 5 years from the same maker up in Minnesota. I said, "Hey, man, it's been 5 years. I think we need to refresh things a little bit." We're actually going to sell the old mugs that people if they didn't want to buy their old mug for whatever reason, they're like, "No, I'm downsizing." We talked earlier about
It's true.
Hey, man, I'm downsizing.
Minimize, minimalist.
So we have these, I'm calling them pieces of history because it was the first brewery in Sebastian and second one in the county, third one on the Treasure Coast. You can come in and buy one of the mugs for $20. The old ones we're just going to put out there in the merch counter. So they're neat. They can put coffee in them, whatever.
Yeah.
Drink your coffee out of a handmade mug,
Right.
knowing this is a
it.
historical piece of
I like
pretty
it.
cool.
equipment. So
Right on.
That's awesome.
So before we wrap up, we always ask one question at the end from our, based on your experiences, which you have some great ones. What's a piece of advice that you can impart on our listeners that they may be able to take in?
don't let external forces dictate what you want to do, period. Just if you want to do it, you're the only limitation. There will never be enough money. I don't care how much you make. There will never be enough of this or enough of that. I mean, that's just human nature to always think I need more.
Yeah,
You only need enough.
Absolutely.
You only need enough of anything. Enough
That's-
water, enough food, enough money.
yeah.
Go pursue what you want to do and don't let other people tell you you can't, because we were all, Lynn and I were both told, you can't open a brewery here. It's
Yeah.
a Bud Light town.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was though, probably, you know.
It was it's a small town, right? So
But we've met so many business people over, you know, our short careers doing this that are killing it in this small town that you would never know. You pass them, you know, on the street and it's like they're absolutely killing it. And it's like, oh, but you can't do that in Sebastian. There's 19,000 people here.
They're doing it.
They're doing it.
It's a great community. It's
It is
a
a
really
great
great community. We feel fortunate to not only be doing what we've dreamed of doing, but to have the support that we have in this community that enabled us to continue doing this. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, but don't let other people limit you.
Yeah.
Now,
like
Pete-
if your best friend backs out on you opening a gym, open that gym anyways.
This is true.
Find a less than best friend. Actually, I don't recommend opening a business with friends.
Okay.
I hear too many horror stories.
Yeah, it's true.
I agree.
I'm not saying
I don't
it
really like
can't
working
be
with these
done.
guys.
Well, think about anything. It's like anything. If you did something because you loved doing it,
Yeah.
it does change gears when it becomes your income. It's
Yeah.
inevitable. I mean,
Yeah.
I still love making beer, but there are days.
Luckily,
when I'm
we don't have that
exhausted.
problem yet.
No.
Yeah, but it still becomes a job.
Yeah.
It's not just a job, but it does become work. And fortunately for Lynn and I, we lived together, been married for a long time to go through all the ups and downs of running a business. But when you're friends, you live in separate places, and people's visions change. That's the one thing you don't foresee as the business grows.
That's a good point.
Because even your
changes.
vision changes, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
You know,
we thought that going to a production brewery was the way to go, and we decided, hey, let's just do what we've been doing a little bigger, not leaps and bounds.
yeah.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the story of Anchor Brewing Company out in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
One of the earliest craft beers I was drinking for sure.
But yeah, where can people find you?
PareidoliaBeer.com. Our brewery is located at 712 Cleveland Street, across from Dunkin' Donuts, across from the old train station.
How do you spell Pareidolia? or
tough one.
Now, yeah,
you didn't even ask where that came from, which is usually the first question.
Actually, you know what?
I don't want to take up all your airtime.
No, I was just about to ask that.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, I'll spell it first. Pareidolia.
There's no rules here. See, we can,
I say I before E, except it's pareidolia.
Yes.
When you're drinking.
I'm going to remind my wife.
Pareidolia is it's seeing patterns in things. So if you look at a cloud and say, oh, it looks like an elephant or a dog or whatever, or Jesus in toast, or people pray to rust stains. That's all pareidolia. Man on the moon. It's all pareidolia.
Really?
So it sounds like paranoia. Like when I start thinking, the more you say, like making me think I'm seeing things, but I get no, but that's kind of cool.
So Lynn and I were on the back porch drinking beer, full moon, a cloud went by and looked like one of the characters on The Simpsons. And for some reason, we both knew what pareidolia was. And we're like, what a funny name that would be for a brewery. And
that's how it started.
That's how it started. The domain was available. The trademark was available. I mean, what a random word.
Yeah.
Right.
People come up to me still. They're like, I'm a psychology major and I don't know what that word was.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So,
I thought it was somebody's last name.
I mean, and with
people think that, you're the Pareidolias. I'm like, hey, the Pareidolias are here. Hide your valuables. But no, it's just we see things. And the second year we were open, actually, some scientists figured out it's behind our ears, the part of our brain that is responsible for that. And the way they tested it was awesome. They had people sit in front of a TV screen with like no channel on, like the snow, like old school snow.
Okay.
And people, their brains were trying to make patterns out of all those dots. And behind their ears was firing off. So these guys won an international award for figuring out where pareidolia comes from.
Wow.
So, it
comes from beer.
The more you drink,
The more you see things and then others.
And real quick before we end, I want to say we have a chapter in a poetry book from this gentleman in England who's a fairly well-known poet, was writing poems about pareidolia in beer foam. I'm not even making this up, and I thought, what a scam. My flags are going off, and this guy's, no. And he sent me a rough draft of his poems. And we sent him pictures of our beer, what the name of the beer was, and he wrote poems about it. And that book is available on Amazon Books.
And what is the name of the book?
It's like, was it Telephone Love Hearts or something like that?
Sounds like a great title.
Yeah.
It was really a random title. Something in Telephone Love Hearts.
That's awesome. I get the poem and about your beer. That's kind of, I don't know if you, in the intro, we have our poem. We were in Austin, and that's kind of how we got our intro, is that there was a girl there for free with a old school typewriter. Give us one word.
Yeah.
She'll type us a poem, and we said, can we give you two? And we gave her Full Gorilla.
Nice.
And she gave us that poem, and that's kind of how, so it's kind of it's funny how those types of things happen.
Awesome. Yeah. See,
so we had a poet
build
type
around
art.
Yeah. We had a poet.
And when we asked her if we could use it commercially, she kind of stared at us funny and said, "Yeah, sure."
Weirdos.
Whatever. Yeah.
It's a good story. It's a good story.
So
we have it on YouTube.
People can find us online. We're on Facebook. We have Instagram. They could just Google Brewery Sebastian.
Is it Pareidolia on Instagram and Facebook too?
Yes. Yep.
All right, because we'll tag you on it when we post.
Appreciate that.
Awesome.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, as always, if you got any questions, comments, or concern, you can email us at fullgorillalife@gmail.com.
And if you want to see what's going on in our social life, you can see us on Facebook and Instagram at Full Gorilla Life, and on Twitter at GorillaFull, 2 L's.
Thank you. Yep. And also, please feel free to visit our website, fullgorilla.life. That is fullgorilla.life. And please don't forget to hit subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap. Thanks, Pete.
Later.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Cheers.